Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Crosstalk VFX. My name is Pranjal Chaudhary, a digital compositor currently living and working in Toronto, Canada. Apart from doing professional film compositing, I also teach online and like working on personal projects in my free time. So the idea behind these sessions is about discussing projects, workflows, and also the techniques we use on our personal projects on day-to-day basis. As we go along, we'll be getting other artists from the industry on the show to discuss their methodology and show their artwork. We'll try our best to steal some time from our busy schedule and record as much as possible, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some delays before we get into the groove. Today I'm joined by Chet Diwakar. He's also a compositor slash 3D artist slash Mattepainter, and also shares the same interest. He'll be taking us through the workflow he used to create this VR matte painting. So, hey Chet.
Hi. So yeah, like Pranjal said, we work together, and I do compositing, and I use Blender for 3D, and I do matte painting as well. And in my personal time, I like to draw and paint, as well as do illustration-y kind of stuff digitally. So yeah.
Oh. So Chet recently showed me one of his VR painting he did, which he also posted on ArtStation. So I think that was pretty cool. So I think today we can just cover that in this session.
Sounds good.
All right.
So I'll go to my ArtStation right now.
Is there any way of like getting a count on the views you are getting on your ArtStation portfolio, or you just like post it there and then God knows how many people are watching it?
I think usually when you post something, it just tells you how many views you get. I see some people like who post stuff and they get like 1 million views. I'm like, whoa, those stuff are like really good. Imagine you got paid if you get like certain amount of views.
So so this is the VR painting you did. It's basically, you want to talk about it? Like, what's the theme you were trying to approach, and what was your general workflow?
Sure, yeah. So maybe I'll take you through it. So I guess I wanted to just do like a VR painting that kind of told a story. And I think one thing I'm really fascinated about is just like sci-fi and I guess the typical dystopian kind of setting, and I don't know, but then also like the good guys kind of like being the underdogs and just like kind of fun technology. Yeah. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. I just thought, hey, it looked cool. And that's the thing with like doing these kind of loose paintings, is there's a lot of interpretation. It's just a lot of things where it's open to interpretation, which I like, because someone can look at it and that going on. I think honestly though, this is kind of like the main composition I was kind of working on for the most time. But then I did work on this as well. That's probably the second most in terms of like how much work I put into it. And then obviously like there's a huge empty space here, but it's kind of nice because you don't always have to have like something crazy going on. Like this looks pretty like it's pretty busy over here, and then this is like, oh, what's going on here? Is that like the same thing that's happening here? That's kind of the idea I had. Like this tower here is like just being repeated, and like these ships could be like these ships over here, like, or it could be something else entirely. It's up to you how you want that.
So you're just telling the story that there might be a similar situation on the other buildings going on the buildings as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
So what was the very first piece you started working in this whole VR painting? What is the main building you started with, and then you just build upon it? built around
well,
it?
I can show you the. So basically, how I did this is, I mean, you could just start from scratch, and I can show you that method as well. But for me, I wanted to do it in the least amount of time, honestly, and just I found that starting out with like a 3D scene and rendering a 360 camera from that. So the nice thing about Blender is it's very fast. Yeah, and it's very good because it's definitely like an artist tool. Like it's built for. It's very it's very fast to load, and
It is, yeah.
all
Like
the menus are pretty clear.
yeah, yesterday I was trying to load some of the demo files which are on blender.org, and some of them are like heavy, super heavy files, and they just take like 10 seconds to open. And I remember, like in production, we use Maya, and some of the files for the show we are currently working on takes like 10 minutes just to load before you can start doing anything with the file. That's just like a general complaint I hear from all the layout artists and lighting artists, just how much time it takes to load certain files.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, yeah.
And it's free.
And it's free. I mean, what else do you want?
Yeah. So yeah, like started out with Blender. It's very easy to I mean, just use a 360 camera. I'm sure in Maya there's probably like a setting you can do to render a 360. So it's nothing new. Like it's been around forever. It's just maybe let's start up Blender.
Let's start up Blender.
Okay. So maybe for the fun of it, I'll just I'm just gonna do a little bit of sculpting, just to give something interesting. So bear with me.
Dino Topo, what's that? Never heard of it.
Oh, it's like a when you sculpt, it basically changes the topology.
Okay.
So it adds more polygons and gets rid of polygons if you need that. So it's good for like if you're creating new forms. So basically, I'll show you the difference. So if you do that, I'm creating more polys right now.
Yeah.
But then if you turn it off and I do that, it's just stretching it, you see. But I usually like to keep it on for like when you're making forms, and then it's actually cool. They've implemented some remeshing tools in here. So, I mean, they're not the best, and I think they're definitely trying to
the voxel remesher is the one I saw last time.
Yeah, so actually, why don't we do that then? So now you can see it's a whole bunch of triangles, which, I mean, I'm fine with, honestly, because for me, I render this out, and if it looks weird, I just paint over it. But obviously, if you're doing like an animation, you need to have like decent topology, right? Or if it's like a character that's being deformed or whatnot. So to get this to work, you have to turn off thin topo and then go here and hit remesh. And then I think you have to wait for a bit, probably like a few seconds, hopefully.
So it is still using the voxels to remesh the topology, right? I mean,
yeah. I think it converts it. It uses OpenVDB, I believe, and then converts it to voxels to kind of figure out the actual, I guess where, like, I don't know how to explain it that well, but it uses voxels to kind of create the mesh, and then it just creates new polys based on that.
I see, I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's still thinking. I probably shouldn't have done that.
It's okay.
I guess in the meantime, I can show you the how I started off with.
Yeah.
So basically, this was the. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Maybe I should put a. Is it too dark or?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is how it started off in the beginning.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty basic, which from what you started actually, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this stuff the people right here, I just basically found photos of prisoners online and then just created some very primitive geometry and projected.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then these guys, I think I just found like a picture of like a train, like, you know, those Soviet trains.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just like projected it on some geo and it gave some interesting shapes. And same with this thing. So these guys are all like based on, like, they're all using the same thing. And like, I think basically what I did is I created this ship and I kind of just like did some weird stuff to it to get some interesting shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just took that whole geo and then just like rotated and duplicated a bunch of times and ended up with these guys. So it's nothing fancy. I just took like, it's basically like photoshopping with 3D.
Okay. But it also gives the fact that they belong to that ship because they're having the same shading and texture. So it kind of binds them with the whole, you know, with the ship. So it almost feels like they are the ones who come out of the ship and then they are getting to these prisoners, right?
Yeah. Obviously, it looks like crap though, because like, I mean, these guys don't look bad, but like the ship, it looks very rudimentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here, like, I think I took like a texture of like a cement texture and then projected on some blocks and then just stretched the crap out of it. So it's very stretch looking right now, right? So and even if you go to the like the painting, yeah, like you can tell it's still kind of stretched, but I kind of use that to give the like as a visual kind of cue, I guess.
And also, I think it works more like a perspective lines, you know, which gives a little bit more depth to the whole scene because your eyes kind of follow those lines as they go down, right?
Yeah. So I kind of just used the stretch texture to my advantage. I just kind of painted a little bit over it so it didn't look as obvious that it's stretched. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously I could have done a better job, but it was just kind of a sketch. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you cover it with a lot of volumetrics, so I think that works to hide certain stuff, right?
And then like this city here, I just found a city online and just yeah. Hopefully it's no one's picture that they really like, but I mean, I didn't. At the end, I didn't even end up using it because this is like completely different, right? Okay. I just I'd say probably just use it as like a layout tool and also just to like sample the colors from. But this is like something completely different.
Yeah, it's quite different.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're fine.
Yeah. Let's see if it ended up. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Don't know what happened here. Let's see. Okay, I think it got like pretty screwed up, so maybe I won't do that next time. All right, let's just do a quick like a block out, I guess, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, the thing sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, I really like this snake hook brush because it's very good for like just clicking and dragging and you get forms.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I
like that.
I think they added a bunch of new brushes to the whole Blender sculpting mode.
Yeah.
There's one where you can, it's a cloth brush.
Yeah, the cloth brush.
Yeah, but it actually does simulations on the geo while you're sculpting it. So you're not actually going and sculpting each and every crease. It automatically generates that through simulation on the geo, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think I've used it a little bit, but I haven't messed around with it enough.
Oh, okay.
Have you?
No, I haven't. I just saw one demo on YouTube and I was blown away with it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think there's going to be a lot of great tools coming soon. So
yeah.
And also you got to make this. Well, for my personal preference, I like making this brush detail so that the polys stay to the brush size.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just sculpting something random. Maybe some like could be a desert. All right, so maybe let's go with that. And then maybe maybe we'll put the camera like right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I create a camera. Obviously the scale, like I like to use real world scale sometimes, but obviously the scale is not accurate, but that's okay. Like we can just kind of work with this for now.
Yeah.
So then you look through the camera. And then you also got to set lock camera to view. So now you can rotate around. Maybe I'll move the camera a little bit so that it's like maybe over here. So that when you turn around, you're not being intersected by the mountain.
Okay, so that is something you need to be careful about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I'll do like a quick sculpt here just to make it look a little interesting. Where's that snake hook brush? Here it is. Okay. So maybe something like that. It's nice because you can sculpt in your viewport as well. So.
Oh, okay. While looking through the camera, right?
While looking through the camera, which is pretty awesome.
It is.
So maybe you want something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe as the last thing, what we'll do is maybe we'll throw a PBR texture on there. That could be cool.
Yeah.
Let's see what I got. All right, so let's put a HDRI. So yeah, I got to set this to cycles because Eevee, if you guys aren't familiar with cycles and Eevee, cycles is like the PBR ray tracing engine, the default one in Blender.
Yeah.
There's also a whole bunch of other ray tracing engines, but this is what ships with it. There's also like, I think there's one called Appleseed or
yeah, there are a bunch of renders out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Cycles is good enough.
Cycles is good enough. It's physically accurate. Eevee is good, but I think it's GSL based, so it is more like it does a lot of cheat under the hood to make stuff look good. Yeah,
but there's some great things about Eevee because if you want some like real-time volumetrics, it does really good.
It does
like
really
if you
good.
want like a Blade Runner kind of scene, then
yeah. I like some of the Eevee renders I've been seeing recently is like as good as Cycles or even better in some cases, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll keep it. I don't know if I like this HDRI. Maybe I'll try this one. No, it's just a little too distracting. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to put the sky texture on it for now.
Yeah, just go for that. Yeah, we're just trying to, understand the basic workflow, like not actually making it look super pretty.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's put a texture on there. So yeah, basically I get a lot of HDRIs from HDRI Haven. It's really good. Like it's a free site, and yeah, shout out to those guys. They're awesome.
They are awesome, and I think recently they started one for
Texture Haven,
free 3D models as well. I think it's called Model Haven or something like that.
Model Haven, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the library is not as vast because they just started, but I think in time they will add more asset to the library.
Yeah. All right. So I have this one. Oh, I don't have any PBR textures here. That's weird. Maybe I'll just put a random texture on there for now. Honestly, the more random your texture is, the more like, this is weird as it sounds, but if you find a texture that's very like, even from a photo, and just like get it to just like warp it and skew it to work, it kind of gives you some like surprising results. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't though. I don't know what this is. Let's see. right, we can try that.
Okay. As you guys know, we haven't actually got time to like prep a real session, so excuse of any, random stuff popping in and out.
All right. It's very rudimentary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does the job.
Right, so then basically now what you do is you go to camera, you set this to panoramic, and you set this to equirectangular.
Okay.
So now you got your full 360 view.
Oh, so it's like a lat long map.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then now you go here and you set your resolution to the X should be twice as much as the Y. So you can set this to 4000 by 2000. And then for the sake of this demo, I'll set it to 50%. I'm going to say this as a PNG. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call it Untitled because I'm lazy. And then in Photoshop, what you can do is, so you're going to set this to basically, it's kind of like your film gate. It's kind of like your crop, I guess, if you will.
Okay.
So I'm just going to use 1920 by 1080. Mm-hmm. And then you go here to 3D. And then you go here to spherical panorama, import panorama. And then you go to, you find the directory. And then you just say, okay. And now it's imported. Now, the thing is, like...
But I see the file is called untitled.dae. What's that extension about?
So DAE, I think DAE is like a 3D format. Mm-hmm. So I think basically what it's doing right now is it's projecting a 360 image onto a sphere.
I see, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that now that this is in here, personally, I prefer working with like something like this over something that's more polished from 3D because it gives me like the ability to just kind of be okay with not feeling like I'm going to mess something up. I can just start working on top of it.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? Because sometimes when you do like a really good 3D render, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah, you're stuck with the thing, and then you can't actually change it unless you go back to 3D and do a new render.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I usually would do is, okay, so maybe let's start with something like this view. This composition. So what I would do is create a new layer. Mm-hmm. And now whatever I do in this layer, it's kind of locked. You'll see. I'll do something quick and then you'll see what I mean by it's locked to that. It's not locked, but it's locked to this view, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if I like actually go in and start, modifying.
How do you actually deal with layers in this workflow? Like, what if you wanted the terrain to be a different layer when you export it out of Blender?
So that's the thing. Like, you have to be okay with working
on a flattened. Okay.
But I mean, there is a way I can show you. But I think that creatively, it's kind of like a traditional approach that where you can make the best. I feel like if you keep it in a traditional way, you get the best results, if that makes sense.
I see.
But I mean, if you wanted something more polished, or if you're like using renders, then maybe the working with the layers is the better way to go. Is it here? Oh yeah, here it is. If I go here, it actually opened up the 360.
Ah, I see. Okay.
So actually, if I were to do something like this, like maybe let's just put a whole bunch of haze over everything. So now if I do that and then go back here.
Oh, so it commits to the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, actually real-time updated it. So let's see here. I'll just undo everything I just did.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's go back. Did it go away?
I think so.
Let's do something drastic. Okay. Oh yeah, so see it updated.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And if I remove that, it's gone.
So you have these two ways of painting in VR, right? You actually either you paint on the 3D view or you paint on the layer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes the 360 view, it can be a little confusing because I mean, if you do something that's a little bit off in perspective, then it's going to show.
But I think it's also equally difficult to paint in a lat long map. I think because of the lensing is so weird and different, right? To get the perspective right in that sense is also quite difficult, I believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to. It's not being completely perfect, obviously. But
like you have to get used to it. It's not like traditional Photoshop painting, you know.
Yeah, but the nice thing is, okay, I'm painting this mountain right here, and then I move it like that, and it kind of like, instead of painting it over here, I was painting it straight on, so it's kind of like I flatten the perspective out, and now when I do that, it kind of, so sometimes when I'm like say for example this guy, sometimes when I'm like I want to do something here, I'll like zoom in, and then maybe let's see, we can add some like missiles or something, or whatever these things are. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm painting on a different layer, and then, oh yeah, I was telling you before how it's locked. So basically, if I try to, I won't be able to rotate around. And if I rotate the square,
I see. Okay.
It stays in place.
So you have to paint on the 3D layer.
So you paint on a layer, like, so this layer right here is a 2D layer, and then this is a 3D layer. You paint on the 2D layer, and then you have to bake it down.
Oh, okay.
For it to actually...
I see. And then when you bake it, it's gone. You can't actually do anything to it.
Yeah, so that's one way of doing it. The other way is if I go to the 360 map, and then I create a new layer, and then I go here. So actually, I'm working on the new layer right now. I'm not working on this layer. I'm working on this layer, but here it just shows that it's one layer. So I'll show you an example. If you go here and then maybe something.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so then now you bake this down, and you can rotate, right?
Yeah.
But then actually, this is actually in its own layer. You see?
Oh, so you can move it around in the layer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, that would be good for like maybe if you want to separate your thing into foreground.
So you don't actually lose the layer when you bake it in 3D, right?
Yeah, because it's actually working on this layer. See, I can create another layer. Or even, how about I create another layer and duplicate it? So now this is over here, right? And then, see that?
I see, okay.
So if I create something, create a new layer, and then, you know, like do that or something, and then bake it down, it's actually not baking it down on the whole thing. It's just baking it down on this layer that I'm on.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Which is pretty cool. So yeah, like you do get some sort of
control if you want. Okay.
But personally, I like baking everything down into one layer and just working on one layer, because I feel like for what I was trying to achieve, I'm trying to go for that painterly kind of feel, and where everything's kind of like integrated and not like, I don't want to like deal with integration later on. I want to integrate as I go. So that means like it's kind of working more traditionally, I guess. So if you're okay working traditionally, I mean, it takes a while to get used to. I found that before I got into like drawing and painting like outside of a computer, I was really like, I didn't want to like mess with my layer. Like in one layer, I was really scared. I'd always keep like different layers and stuff. But now I'm okay with like, I hate how this looks. Let's let's paint this out, or
Yeah, I think the more you do it, you get used to the whole perspective thing.
Yeah.
Is there a way if someone is starting on it and they don't want to dive into Blender or any 3D software to start from, or is it just?
For sure, yeah. So I'll because I did say I was going to show you that way too. So I mean, Photoshop, I think, is probably the best program with the most amount of tools. And also, because Photoshop, a lot of people know Photoshop, right? Like if I show you some other programs, it might be a little confusing. And personally, I like Photoshop because of the tools it has. I'm sure people are working on other programs with better tools, but
I mean, it's more like a legacy now, Photoshop.
Okay, so I made a 1920 by 1080 image, and then now you go to 3D, spherical panorama, new panorama layer from selected layers.
I see.
And now it's created a new panorama.
Okay.
So now all you have to do is start filling it. So, so I guess this is where, I mean, some people work with grids, like they would create like a grid overlay in 3D and kind of use that as a foundation.
But you're not getting control over the camera settings, right, when you're doing this way? Or do we have some control over the camera settings as well?
You do have some control, yeah.
Okay.
But it's kind of like you're working a little bit more like traditionally, I guess, even more traditionally than what I was showing you before. So if I'm actually going to like create a scene, I'll draw like a perspective line, maybe I'll start like sketching something.
So you have a lot of custom brushes as well, right?
I do. There are a lot of the brushes are kind of like other people's brushes, but I've just kind of, I mean, these are my brushes up here. Actually, I think the first 10 are from this one guy named Shadi. He's like a concept artist, and I mean, these brushes are pretty good, and I've always used them. I've used them for like the longest time, so I guess I'm familiar with that. But the thing I realized about brushes is, and it came to me as I've done more traditional painting, is it's kind of like, it's not about the brush you're choosing, it's more about the shapes you're trying to make with it.
I see.
So if you know what you're trying to do with the brushes, then it saves you time. And you know like how your brush tip should look like. So it's not just about like, I mean, sometimes it's fun to just find like a random brush that does something cool and then just go with it. Like that's kind of cool.
Cool.
But yeah, like.
All right, so you have that on a different layer and then you bake it, right?
Yeah, so you bake it now, and now it's in a 360, and then.
Oh, okay. But what about the seams? Do you need to mask it out when you bake it, the seams?
So now what I would do is I would just start sampling the color, and then you know, oops, just extend it like that.
Oh, okay.
Create it like that.
All right, and then you just go on by layer by layer, and then you start just building on top of it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
You know what I did that was kind of dumb though? And I guess because I haven't done like much digital drawing and painting traditionally in a digital media for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I like usually it's not a good idea to start with a white canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, see, I'm trying to make this gray anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if that's your way of doing it, but I find that for me, I need to kind of have it at a mid gray so that I'm working on my shadows and highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like, you can still work with this. And then,
so you are painting on top of the, like you're just using brushes to paint, right? But you can also get in textures and like HDRIs or something like that, and just put it on a different layer as a sky if you want to. Right?
Yeah, like you can actually do that. That's a great idea. So if you went here, and then so that's the whole spherical thing. Let's load a HDRI. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how this is gonna. I mean, maybe if I do this, it'll keep the proportion. That's okay if it's not completely accurate, though. Maybe I want to... let's just keep this. So if I did that, now it's kind of like... I have this HDRI, and actually an HDRI is a good way to get a layout, I guess, going.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can just start drawing on top of this. Because sometimes I find that when you're drawing, especially digitally, it's easy to get lost in it, and then you don't know what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah,
wasting time. So now I can just use this as like a foundation.
Yeah.
And then I can start like just, drawing. I don't even have to like really pay attention to this. I can kind of just use it as like where it is perspective wise. Mm-hmm. And then I can like, oh, is this like a fence or something?
To use the HDRI as sort of a guide to build upon. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I love drawing, and I mean, I'm not the best at it. I've only really gotten into it like recently, but
so is this the first?
I feel like if I want to do something that's like good quality, I'll probably start with 3D and then like start painting on top of it after, because I don't have all the time in the world to just paint.
To make things look good in 3D, and then
because it saves you a lot of time.
It 3D takes time if you want to make it look good.
Oh, I mean, like 3D saves a lot of time, but it also takes time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like finding that balance where you're like, okay, I'll use 3D for this much, and then I'll take it from there and do the rest in 2D, if that makes sense.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. So
because something like this. Something like this, to get the layout I was going for and the composition.
I think we'll we'll try to wrap it up now. We've been like over 55 minutes. Yeah. I know. It's interesting. That's why.
You kind of get
stuff
lost
you show,
in
that's
it.
very interesting. Time. Yeah, time just flew. So it's really nice. There's not a lot of content out there which actually goes through how to do VR painting. Do you recommend any specific channels or YouTube tutorials?
Sure, yeah. There's
I can link that in the description.
one guy named Jama. He does some really cool VR stuff as well. Actually, he's the one who inspired me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he also does a lot of tutorials.
So, like, for example,
okay,
he's done some VR stuff here. Yeah, he kind of uses the same approach too, I think, where
that's amazing.
He'll like take like a 3D scene and just work on top of it. I think that's usually the best thing to do if you want to do a VR painting versus like a normal painting. I mean, it's fine if you just start completely in 2D because you're just doing one view, so it doesn't take too much time. But like this, like a VR scene, you kind of want to get the lighting working across the whole scene, right? Yeah. So yeah, just check out his tutorials. They're really good. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for talking to us and showing all this cool stuff, Chet. I'll put a link to your art station in the description, and so that people can go in and check your other work.
Or you could just go on ArtStation and see more awesome stuff.
All right, cool. All right, thanks for checking in. Hit subscribe if you like this content and you want to see more in future. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chet, for tuning in.
Bye.
Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.